hear that in the background?
Hey there, everybody. Thanks so much for coming over to Out on a Limb with Gabby Allen. I am super excited to bring you PJ Fiala today. We're going to be talking books. We're going to be doing all the things that you love to listen to and watch, I'm sure, as we laugh at each other, because that's kind of just how things work. So we're going to start with our one question that we have. And PJ, Patty, what is it that you do and how do you do it?
I write romantic suspense, and I do it, I look at people. People are incredibly interesting, and everyone you look at has a story. And so it started off back in the day. My husband and I are bikers.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So we were signed up for a charity ride. It was an annual ride at the time that some friends of ours started for his brother who had passed away. And so they wanted to do a charity ride and then donate the proceeds in Troy's name every year somewhere. So it became a big thing. Yeah. And so we had registered and we were standing outside the bar. They had a deck and we were looking out over the people. I was just standing there looking at all of our friends.
Yeah.
And I thought, that couple right there were married, divorced, and then got remarried. Oh, that's a second chance romance. And then I looked over and I thought, them too. And as I looked, we have, no lie, my husband and I have 4 friend couples that were married, divorced, and remarried. And a couple of them had marriages in between, but they all got remarried again. And I thought, all these people have such love stories, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it just kind of goes from there. I just kind of look at people.
And then do you throw the suspense in depending on what the love story is, or do you start out with suspense and figure out which couples go in it?
Well, it started off that I was just writing. I thought what I was writing in the beginning was contemporary romance, but what I felt in my heart was that contemporary romance for me is kind of boring because normally the conflict or the suspense between the hero and the heroine is just some stupid miscommunication or something that could easily be rectified by having a beer and actually talking. And so for me, it was all contrived and seemed kind of silly. So I started throwing these romance, these suspense elements into the stories. And I thought, what I'm really writing is romantic suspense.
Yeah.
So now what I do is I come up with like my last 3 series were series based on, this is what this team of people is going to be about and do.
Okay.
And then I come up with the stories inside that whole series arc. So
interesting. So do you make up, like, are they similar to like FBI? Are they more like private sector kind of stories?
Yeah. So all of my heroes, most of my heroes, I think I have 1 or 2 that aren't, but most of my heroes and many of my heroines are all former military.
Okay.
So kind of in the military security based arena. And my current series that I'm working on, Raptor, it was about a story. I was reading a story on the internet a couple of years ago about the United States government has been retraining wounded veterans to search out and hunt down pornographers, child pornographers, and traffickers. So some of them based on the severity of their disability, if they can't walk anymore and can't actually be out in the field, they're taught to search online. Right. There's all these dark web places where so they do that. And then those that are physically able to go out in the field and actually hunt down and do some more physical work, go out in the field. And I just thought, God, what a great series that could be, because aren't those like the ultimate heroes? They're saving kids, right?
Yes.
So that's what that whole that one story prompted me to write this current series, because I just thought it was a cool story.
Isn't that interesting though, the way that we like, I find myself people watching a lot. And the history, because I'm not necessarily looking at my friends where I know their history. Maybe I'm sitting in a cafe and just kind of glancing around. I'm giving these people whole life stories. And
Yes.
if I actually asked them, they would probably be like, I'm an accountant and I've been married to the same person since I was 20. And I'm like, no, let me tell you, you may be an accountant now, but you used to be. And so I think that it's like a springboard for us. And I can read something like a news article or come across a link that I click on by accident. And all of a sudden there's this really interesting tidbit that just kind of blooms
Yes.
for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things that some people talk about there being like a cosmic soup above us, and all the ideas are there. It just depends on which one comes to you based on what kind of things that you write. Because
Yeah.
if you gave 6 different people the exact scenario that you're talking about, you're going to get 6 different, completely different series.
Sure. And isn't that fan fiction too?
Yeah, yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's very interesting to me. My grandfather was in the Navy for 32 years. My
Ah,
dad was in for 8. My brother-in-law is retiring next year
oh,
after 20 some years. And
oh,
so I love, I was born on a military base. And, so that was definitely a part of growing up. And
sure.
so I find people who choose to do that kind of thing fascinating, and then they have baggage
Yeah.
that you
There's
can
all
then,
kinds of baggage, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and you use it in your stories,
Yeah.
and you give them things to go through. And I think it also then opens up the possibility, I think, for people to understand that there are a lot of things that you can go through and survive, but
Yeah.
not just survive, thrive.
Yes. Yes. And and in some cases, we can take baggage
Yes,
and unpack it in a different way.
yes,
But in the end, we wrap it up into the HEA, and we give that reader, even though maybe there's sometimes like in this current series there, it's not, some of the subject matter is dark,
yeah,
right?
oh
Nobody like
yeah.
think about child trafficking or
That's
pornography or anything, but I'm not focusing so much on that as much as that these people, their life's mission now
yes,
is to end this, and how strong they feel about it,
right,
and then you couple them with someone that maybe feels the same way or
right.
never even thought of it, and they come together to create the two halves of a whole.
Yeah,
So,
I love it. I love it. Well, and I think sometimes uh, there are people who are like, oh, you read romance. And I'm like, yes, I do. And do you know why? Because it gives me hope more than anything, whether or not it's a hope in the love aspect, hope in overcoming the evil aspect, hope in doing the right thing aspect. They all, like every romance novel that I have read and enjoyed, comes down to feeling hopeful when it's over.
yes.
And I love doing that. And of course people know, if you pick up a romance, unless you think Nicholas Sparks is romance, which I don't, um unless you don't know what you're doing when you pick up a romance, they're getting together at the end.
And I
You
think that's
just
the
don't know
contract between
how.
the writer and the reader, right?
Yes, abs- absolutely.
Yeah.
I would not be happy if they didn't. My happily ever after would be totally ruined.
Yes. Yes. I've read an author once that I at the end, not only was it not a happily ever after, but one of them died. And I was so mad
Oh,
that I invested my whole
yeah.
into this book. And in the end, it was like, this better be a joke.
Right.
And
Yeah,
it was.
yeah.
I
And
was
you're like,
so
oh,
upset.
oh no, oh no. Well, and
Yeah.
that's, I mean, I think a lot of people, if you were to poll romance readers, a lot of people, even readers in general, a lot of people read to escape. And,
Yes.
and whatever is currently going on, if I can take you out of whatever it is that you're doing right now. And maybe even because mine are humorous. So if I can make you like laugh so hard that you snort tea out of your nose, I have accomplished my goal. That's an achievement unlocked right there. That's to me,
Yeah.
but I especially now I'm not so good at writing romantic suspense. It never fails. I tried to write one, and what did I do? I think I strangled somebody with like a feather boa or something. And I was like, this is not a romantic suspense. You have just crossed the line. But they are often about harder subjects. They are often about harder decisions and people that have been through not just the ringer, but hell, and maybe currently are going through hell. Because like I've read romantic suspense where like the one character doesn't have a life that has anything to do with this, and all of a sudden they're a target, and the other character is coming in to either save them, protect them, something like that, and they get like a different perspective because that's their life.
Yeah.
That's not this person's life.
Right.
And now you're introducing them to what it's like to be you, and maybe kind of getting an idea that that's not the norm for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And military too. I think people don't always understand what exactly that means.
Right.
That's not an easy life.
No, it's not an easy life, as you know. And by the way, thank you for your family's service.
Absolutely.
It's really important. I come from a military family too, so
yes.
it's near and dear to my heart.
Well, thank you for your family service
thank
also.
You. And it's just, I don't think people realize that people that have served, they've given up time from their family. They've given up so much for their country and to keep the ideals that we have in the United States alive and well.
Yes.
And especially in the case of Vietnam soldiers, they came back, they weren't thanked for it at all.
No.
And so then
they were the opposite of thanked.
Yes.
And so, I actually, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So they lived, a hell all over again.
Yeah. Yes.
And, that's kind of sad.
That's a really rough one. So my grandfather for 32 years, he was in World War II, Korean, Vietnam. I feel like maybe it was just 3. But he actually was on a ship. And so he was on a supply ship sitting right outside the battle zone, and ships would come in and they would restock from him and then go in and do the thing and then come back out and restock with him. Now, my grandfather, I get my humor from him, and he would make donuts for the higher ups, and he would send them with a poem, some sort of ridiculous donut poem. And sometimes they'd send a poem back, and he kept all of them and made them into a book. And he has, like, some of them have exactly what ship they were exchanging with. And this was during the Vietnam War. And he had like their poem back to him. And I've thought about publishing this because I don't think a lot of people, especially as the Vietnam generation gets older, the younger ones don't understand what it was that they went through. And so if you're dealing with that kind of person from the military who went through that kind of thing, giving them hope, giving them a beautiful happily ever after, it makes my heart flutter.
Yeah,
it really does, because you're dealing with some very hard subjects.
Yes, absolutely hard subjects, and you can only hope that they now feel the love that they so deserved years ago, that now as this new generation has had to face Iraq and Afghanistan and understand the trials of war, and then realize that they didn't get that, people are kind of bringing them to the table now.
Yes.
It's kind of late for some, but at least I hope that they know that we're trying to redeem the bad behaviors that they were subjected to. And
well, and I think
learn and move on, right?
When we do that again, especially maybe somebody who was the spouse of somebody who came home from Vietnam and saw the way, and then you're pulling that person or that kind of person to a story. It rekindles something, I think, for them sometimes. A lot of people are like, oh, we need to write for the younger generation. I'm like, well, there's still a lot of people out there who aren't necessarily going to want to read a 22-year-old. It's okay. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they're like, I do over 40. That's it. I do over 40. And I was like, good for you, because look, when you're in your 20s, I understand that you can have things have happened to you, and they can make you hesitate to get back into another relationship. If you're in your 40s, most likely you got a couple behind you that you're like, you're going to have to be something really extra special to make me get out of my comfort zone right now. And that's just that much more richness, I think, in the stories. So do you balance pretty much 50-50, or like 50% suspense and 50% romance, or do you not think about that? You just write the story and go from there?
I think in the beginning it was more romance, less suspense. So I used to joke and say it was suspense light. I thought I was writing contemporary romance, and then one of my friends said, well, that's not what I would call contemporary romance. You really are kind of writing suspense, but maybe not like super suspensey.
Right.
And so as I started thinking about it, I had my first series is my Rolling Thunder series, and that was the series I thought I was writing contemporary. And then as I kind of thought about it a little bit, I thought, well, I guess that kind of is true. So then as I moved on to other books, I mean, I've just published book number 27. So I've got a few here.
Congratulations.
Thank you, to think about. So I think now I'm leaning more towards more suspense. I just got a book back, my next release back from my editor this week, and she said, I think you need some more romance in here. So I guess I sort of am leaning the other way, and maybe it won't be unrealistic for me someday to write mysteries.
Okay.
Or suspense without the romance. I don't know.
It's interesting. There's a thing going around right now, which I am fascinated by. And it's that some people are really starting to want romances where they don't have the huge conflict with each other. They kind of want them to just fall in love in the framework of something bigger than themselves.
Yes.
So while they're not necessarily running around throwing tulips at each other and saying, I love you on page 3, there's not like the big black moment isn't necessarily where he is, caught kissing somebody else who's actually kissing him instead of him kissing her. And then the heroine runs away and thinks that it's all for naught. And then he comes back and says, I don't even know what that was. I don't know why she did that. Of course I love you. You just got shot and now I'm going to take care of you. And so like for a long time, at least like 10 years or so, they wanted really, really black moments, which is why I ended up going so much more cozy mystery. I'm not good at the black moment. I did not have a black moment in my marriage. We met, we liked each other. We didn't see each other for a little while. We met again. He proposed to me over French fries. We got married. We've been married for 24 years. It's been pretty easy in that kind of thing. And so some people are like, give me a flawed heroine where she is flawed and like learns to accept her flaws and work with them, but not necessarily pit her then against the hero. Can I have them as a team?
Yes.
And I was like, oh, can I tell you how much I want to write that book? I really I love romance because I love the happily ever after, but sometimes I struggle through, like you were saying, through the conflict where I'm like, can we stop avoiding each other, please? And just like how are you expecting to get married at the end?
Exactly.
And stay together forever if you
If
are
you
not.
can't have a conversation over a beer or a coffee or a
Right.
French fry and say,
French fry.
I don't really like it when you take your socks off and throw them in the living room floor, then you're not going to make it, right?
Right. Right.
Just not going to happen. Every
Yeah.
time you look at his dirty underwear laying somewhere,
Right.
you're going to get all pissed off all over again. Not going to happen.
Right.
Real life
Right.
isn't always clean and easy. It's messy.
No.
And so you're learning to deal with someone else's flaws within your framework. When I
Yeah.
always like to say there's no perfect hero, there's no perfect heroine. But
No.
what you hope to find is someone that's perfect for you. My
Thank
husband
you.
wouldn't be perfect for someone else.
Yes.
He's perfect for me. He works for
Yeah.
me, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean he's a perfect human. It just
No,
means
no.
we're kind of like the cogs. We work
Yes.
together, and that's
Yeah.
the way it has to be. So I
That's,
tried to explain that to my editor when she said, I just don't get these two together because she's an amputee. She's amputated. She has an amputee from her left arm, from her elbow down. She's
okay.
she was in war. She was hit
Yes.
with an IED. And he is a detective, and he's been divorced, but he's already kind of dealt with that
Yeah.
ickiness and the hard feelings and whatever. And she said they don't have like this overly harsh conflict between them where they have to work through it. I said, no, but they're solving crimes.
Yeah.
They're hunting down. I mean, they learned to work. They have two different jobs within the book. She's a Raptor operative, so she's looking to stop this trafficking ring.
Right.
He's the area detective, and he's realizes that the people she's after, he's also after, but they're also running guns.
Oh.
So they have two different jobs.
Right.
And they're just learning to not step on each other while they're doing their job.
Yeah.
But, over time, they've kind of sort of looked at each other from afar and thought, oh, he probably wouldn't be interested. I only have half an arm. And
right.
He's thinking to her, well, I'm sort of this big oaf and I don't know if she'd be interested in me. So they sort of ignored their little crush.
Yeah.
And they just got together, but there wasn't anything like this over
monumental
obstacle that they had to get over. It was just like, hey, you know what? We work pretty good together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe we can talk and see if we like each other.
Honestly, I love those kinds of stories. I have wanted to write them for years, and I have written some, but those are the ones that I end up, self-publishing. As you were saying that you are an independent publisher on your own, I think because it's not proven. Traditional publishing houses tend to pick up the things that they know they can sell. Mm-hmm. If they're not certain that they know exactly where to put you and exactly how to position you, they don't always take a chance on stuff that's not exactly what their readers are already reading. Right. Yet if you talk to the readers are like, I loved that story. Where can I have more? But because the traditional publisher can't guarantee that they're all going to pick your book up, they will say, this was great, I don't know where to place it, good luck in your future endeavors. And you're like, oh.
But then, and for every story like that, there's 3 others who have gone on to self-publish that same book and have been very successful with it.
Yes.
Because publishers have a box, like you said, they know where they can fit you. And if you step outside that box, they don't move fast enough. They're the slowest moving train in the world.
Yes.
To try and learn to market in a different way, they haven't been very good at. They've proven that over and over again.
Yeah.
And so, but I think that's why we're also seeing the change in readers and what they like, because before all they had was what the publisher gave them.
Exactly.
And then self-publishing hit the market around 2012 pretty strong and has been growing ever since. And now we can write what we want and readers can read what they want.
Yes.
And they're learning for themselves what they really like. Or I'm in a couple Facebook groups that reader groups, and they'll say, I'm in the mood for, and then they'll outline what they're looking for. And then before you know it, there's like 48 people that are saying, oh, try this one. Oh, try this one. Oh, try this one. And they all know, oh, if you're in the mood for this, I'm in the mood for a vampire. How about that? What you got? Tell me what you got. So
And that's a beautiful thing. I do love the shift towards more word of mouth.
Yeah.
I understand that advertising is going to get you places. I get that you need to get your book in front of people in the first place. I really like the Facebook groups because I'm in a couple of cozy mystery Facebook groups, and someone will say, I just finished reading such and such. I'm done with that series. What should I try next? And people will pop on and say, oh my gosh, well, I just finished this. I'm going to read yours, you read mine, and let's come back and like talk about it. And it makes a really big difference because while I know reviews get you moved up in the Amazon algorithm, they don't necessarily get you read.
Yes.
And so being able to have people who are talking about your book and who are, thinking, well, this is a specific thing, and if you want something like this, totally pick up PJ's book. There you go. Like
Yes.
that to me, that's a huge achievement.
Sure.
I that is all I've ever wanted,
Yeah.
is to be somebody's recommendation
Yes.
for something,
Yeah,
because
you write your blurb and you hope your blurb is enough of a tease to sort of explain to a reader what's inside.
yes.
But we don't always hit the mark on that. I think
No.
authors and readers have told me this too. What an author thinks their book is about
Yes.
will be different than what a reader thinks their book is about. And it's a lot of times, isn't it based on your background and the experiences, your own experiences that you've had, how you will pick up something different in the book and say, oh no, I thought that was more about this.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I call that
Awesome.
your filter. And it's
Yeah.
all of the strands of your life, all the things that have happened to you, all weaved together to filter whatever comes in here sits through your filter. And you're right, you could think, well, this is a huge romantic suspense and it's super suspensey, and somebody else is like, oh, I so loved that couple. I loved that they got together and that they, like, when he first glanced at her, I was like, oh, this is going to be quite the ride. And you're like, okay. Hey, I'll
There's a
take
dead
it.
body there.
Right.
Did you see the dead body?
You did catch the gun part, right? I mean, did you miss that? And they're like, oh yeah, I read that. But
Yeah.
I was much more interested in when they went to coffee
Yeah.
and he stirred the right amount of sugar in. That spoke to me. And so you never
Yes.
know, I think that's one of the most awesome things about being an author, is touching people's lives that you might never know, you might
Yes.
never meet, and you might never even be aware of.
Yep.
But they needed your book at that moment, and it helped them escape or get through or laugh in the middle of something that they didn't think they could ever laugh in. That's pretty awesome.
It's very awesome. And I love the first time I got an email from a reader, I thought, oh my God, that is so cool. And most of my heroes are in their late 30s up to 50.
Nicely done.
And it was I have just a duet series, Second Chances, and the heroes are all in their 50s.
Okay.
Heroes and heroines are in their 50s. And this lady said, I am going through a divorce right now.
Yeah.
And she said, and I am your 50 plus audience.
Yes.
And I just read Designing Samantha's Love. And she said, you don't realize how much hope you gave me, that my life is not over because I'm getting divorced at my age, but maybe it could just be beginning.
Yes.
And I showed my husband, I said, read this email.
You're like, I'm printing it out on special paper. We're going to hang it in the hall.
We're going
I
to
want to see it.
it.
Yes, it really is. I mean, look, I know that readers love to hear about authors and like hear about their inside stuff and like where you come up with your ideas. But I love to hear about readers too. Yes. As an author, like I had somebody stop me at a conference once, and I wear vintage swing dresses at conferences with petticoats. And so I'm pretty easy to pick out. And so somebody ran up to me and they're like, oh my gosh, are you Misty Simon? Which I'm also Misty Simon. and Gabby Allen.
Okay.
And I was like, if it's something bad, then no, I'll go find her for you. But if it's something good, then yes. And she was like, oh, I was, she's telling me that she went through throat cancer and she had been reading
Oh.
my books. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna cry. I know I'm gonna cry. And she's like, I just, was having a really bad day the other day. And I thought, you know what? If Ivy Morris can do this, then so can I. And I said, oh my word, I will be back in 15 minutes because first I have to cry.
Oh.
And then second, I have to wipe my face. Then third, I have to put makeup back on because I am supposed to be doing a panel in a half an hour. But knowing that, again, the hope, knowing that somebody is reading your book, your intention isn't necessarily to tell a 50-year-old, hey, if you're going through a divorce, let me just tell you, life doesn't end here. But that's what comes through.
Yes.
And that it just is so, I don't want to say awesome again, phenomenal, just it's amazing.
It's an unexpected
Oh, yes.
Bonus
Right.
to, people, I've got friends that have said to me, we were having a gathering or vacation planning one year, and we were sitting in their basement, and I get nervous when my friends ask me this, because I always feel like I'm this weird creature in the zoo, but it got real quiet. And she said to me, well, how do you come up with all those stories?
Yeah.
And why is that why did you start writing in the first place? And it's kind of asked like that. And I said, well, I don't know. I mean, I've always had stories in my mind, right? I mean, and I didn't even know what they were.
Yeah.
Right. Back in the day. I mean, I'm of an age where to get published in my 30s, I would have had to submit letter after letter after letter after letter and hope that a big publisher would pick me up, right?
With your self-addressed stamped envelope.
And I didn't know how I would make that happen. So I just sort of thought it would never happen, really, right? Okay. But I still had these make-believe stories in my head, and they would just entertain me while I was doing something by myself or vacuuming or driving in the car. And I'd be thinking, and then my husband just said, you're always going to work for someone else unless you start writing the stories that you've always wanted to write. And okay, I'll do that. And, see what comes of it.
Right.
But I told my girlfriend, I just feel really sorry for all you people that don't have stories in your head. I'm entertained every day, all day long. There's never a dull moment, right?
No. How do they survive
if I think
that?
there is, someone's knocking my brain going, hey, wait a minute, are you going to write my story next? Because I've got this really cool thing.
Right. I love it. I do. I mean, and I do the same thing. I'll be outside. I have two little dogs, and I'll take them outside, and there's a park behind us, and I'll look over at the park, and I'm like, I wonder if you could stash somebody underneath that wood pile. How far would you have to be away? And I'm like, I know that there are not other people who always wonder about that kind of thing, but it's fascinating to think how your brain is entertaining you at all times, and you just have to get it down on paper and then entertain other people. I mean, that I love suspense too, because I like the edge of your seat feeling where you're like, no, you're not allowed to read the end of the book. No, I don't care how tempting that is. Stop it. You cannot go to 100% without finishing the 38. Stop it.
Right.
But right. Seeing the bigger than your current life stuff happening, I really like that to happen to people who are a little more like me. A little bit lower key. They don't have to be. My husband's a huge comic book fan. And so we have a lot of DC and a lot of Marvel and a lot of all that stuff. So they're always huge heroes, really big, and they're super strong, and maybe they have kryptonite, but it's the one thing that is their downfall is one thing. I love watching everyday ordinary people become heroes by stepping into something that they don't even know how they're going to be able to survive it, but they'll be damned if they lay down and let it just roll over them.
Yep.
That's awesome. I am so excited. I actually bought several of your books and I was like, I'm going to get to these. I'm going to get, I haven't gotten to them yet. So I will be reading. I do promise.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I loved the blurbs. Now this might be because I'm an author, but your blurbs are very spot on.
Oh,
and
well,
I was like, oh, that's very intriguing. So I guess it depends on you, and like you said, what you're looking for as a reader. We don't always know what keywords they're looking for. You know, that's always the most daunting part of putting a freaking book out as self-publishing for me, is that keyword area where they're like keywords, and I'm like, pages.
Oh, keywords can be anything.
Words.
You know, and they can change each month.
Yeah. Yes. I'm like, stop looking for other things. I am right here. Just type this in. So, you know, I mean, and so with self-publishing, do you have a team, or do you do a lot? You said you had an editor. So do you hire out for most of the other stuff?
Yeah, well, you know, I'm a cover snob.
Oh,
so I will never design my own, because I expect, I want, you know, it's all about your brand, and a reader has to, that's your first look, right?
Yes.
You look at the covers. I mean, you're scrolling through the thumbnails on Amazon or wherever, right?
Yes.
And so it has to be something that they go, oh, he's handsome.
Ooh,
or
yes.
what is
that? What is
nice.
that? I don't even care what that's about. I just want the cover.
Yeah. So I hire out my covers, and I've got a great cover designer. I actually work between two, and I love what they do, and they understand my brand now, so I don't have to do a lot of, well, you know, can you do this or you do that? I mean, I basically say, here's the color of my heroine's hair and his eyes, and you know, here's the title.
That's nice.
I've had it. Yeah. And I like that I can do that. And I always have my whole series, the covers done first.
Oh, that's a great idea.
So I get my my plot idea.
Okay.
And I get the titles. And then I contact my cover designer and say, hey, this series has 9 books. Here are the titles. Here's the character descriptions. And let me know when you've got something for me. And she'll work up a couple different designs and say, well, what do you think of this? Or what do you think of this? And I pick the one I like the best. Yeah. And there it's just, okay, and
then you're off and running.
Finalize those. Those are perfect. So when I'm writing, then I can put up I've got 2 screens here. Yeah. I can put up the cover. So if I'm trying to describe the hero, I have mostly males on my covers.
Yes. As you do.
A romantic suspense thing, right?
As you do. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, come on. I mean, all historicals, women in long flowing dresses.
Yep. Yep.
Suspense, broody looking men.
Yep.
Probably with some kind of weapon. Whether or not you can see it.
Yep.
It is different, but
at least you know he knows how to handle it.
Right. And that's very important, both from the romantic aspect and the suspense aspect. Oh, sorry, we're being naughty there for a second.
No, that's true.
It is. Well, and I really do like romantic suspense because it feeds both sides of the things that I enjoy. I've absolutely read some contemporary romances where I'm like, that was the cutest freaking thing ever, and I love it. You know, I love that they went through this. I used to read a lot of Harlequins because when I started in 2000, I was doing the SASEs. I would send monthly to Harlequin. Can you please send me your guidelines so that I can yet again try to write another book that you may or may not like. This was way before the internet, you know. Sure. I mean, sure. I didn't even think I didn't even have an email address. I had nothing. And I would send little postcards in the envelope with the manuscript so that they could send it back to let me know that they got it. And, you know, I mean, this is back in the day. And I loved silhouette romance. They were very short. They were very peppy. They were kind of a little Hallmarky, but a little more sensual than Hallmark allows, because Hallmark doesn't like anything below the shoulders, and every kiss has to be emotional, not physical. I did like the physicality of certain things. We'll stop right there on that. But but then when I started writing, I was like, I'm never going to be able to do this. I'm not going to be able to write a 70,000 word book that doesn't have some additional external frame.
Yeah.
And I love suspensey stuff. I mean, seriously, I'm not a big horror fan. I'm not always totally into thrillers. But the suspense, when there's a bunch of people running and trying to figure things out before the next bad thing happens, bring that on.
The Jason Bourne and the Jack Ryan and right, those, I like that too. And when I watch TV, we binge watch shows.
As you do.
Because that's kind of like the time that I can just sort of sit down and let somebody else entertain me for a while. But I like watching suspense stories. So like right now we're binge watching Animal Kingdom. So it's on Netflix, and it's, it's kind of one of those shows where this family is, they're all criminals. It's a family criminal enterprise, but you're oddly rooting for the criminals to not get caught, right? It's that kind of this is wrong, but also right thing.
Yes.
But I like watching those shows because first of all, it gives me some ideas.
Yes.
Things that I could do in my books, right? So I might be, that kind of worked. But this and I hope I'm not going to offend anybody, but this show, it could have been better. They just kind of missed the mark a little bit. But what I like about that is I'll say to my husband now, when they did this, should they have done it this way and then worked through this way? Wouldn't that have been more realistic? And they'll say, And so I've got ideas. For days. I'll never be around long enough to write them all, but I like writing that or watching that stuff because it does kind of I guess it sort of tunes my brain up a little bit to some different scenarios and and it's entertaining for me too.
Yes. That's sometimes I'll watch, not always, but I do watch quite a few cozy, like more mystery series, Midsummer Murders, that kind of stuff, where I'm like, oh, I see what you did right there. Or, oh, I see what you didn't do right there. And you should have done that because it would have made it better. And I think, we come at it from a different perspective. And so it is entertaining to watch. And I always feel like, especially in the cozy mystery, it's a game between me and the reader to see who gets to the end first.
Yes.
Because I need to snow you the entire way through the book. But when I reveal it at the end, it cannot be a surprise. It can't be where did that come? I would have never figured that out. They'll never read another book. And that's just all there is to it. Suspense is a little different because they don't expect the same level of the amateur sleuth figuring stuff out. That's the whole cozy mystery. But if you don't, like, at the end they should go, oh, how did I miss that, instead of what is that? You know what I mean? It's always good to watch how other people do it sometimes, to go, oh, or go, no, that was totally not fair. I don't know what you did there, but you need to stop it right
now. And
I
suppose that's kind of a fan fiction like somebody wrote that television show.
Yes.
Right. So that's based off of some writer's idea of what they would. So when I look at it and think, oh, I wouldn't have done it that way, I'd do it. That's kind of a fan fiction sort of off the other way. But I also look at it as kind of learning.
Yes.
Kind of learning about how different people would put things together to create that subterfuge or that mystery or that whatever element.
Yeah. I love it all. I love it all. And I do get tempted. I'm like, I could write a suspense, and I'm like, there's going to be a rubber duck in there somewhere, and you just can't do that to them or you. Maybe you
No.
can. We'll see.
I
Maybe
think you could add
someday.
a little levity here and there. I think readers
That's true.
appreciate a little chuckle here or a little yuck here. And
That's true. I do like that because I think if you write a full on suspense with no moments of downtime, people are exhausted at the end
yes,
as opposed to entertained.
yes,
That they both start with E, but that's about all they have in common.
yeah, that's right.
Can you believe that we're almost at 45 minutes?
No,
This is the way it
wow,
works
that's
sometimes. Yes.
crazy.
Yes. So I would love, I want to make sure that everybody knows where to find you
Okay.
and what we've got coming up next to look forward to.
Okay. Well, I'm on Amazon, obviously. My home base is my website, which is pjfiala.com.
Okay.
Everything is there. I blog regularly. So every Thursday, I have a blog that comes out about some book, why I wrote it, or what the impetus was, or my husband and I are motorcyclists, so we bike around. I'll talk about our trips or some food that I ate or
Oh,
some
fun.
nothing in particular, but everything is
Yeah.
there. So you can follow that. I'm also on Facebook. I have it's Facebook PJ Fiala 1.
Yes.
That was kind of a whole thing. I'm everywhere, I guess. I'm
Okay.
on Goodreads, I'm on Instagram. And I
Awesome.
think you're going to put the links up. So
Yes.
I'm out there.
I'll put everything in the description box for you guys.
Okay.
So that you can click on all the links to go find PJ out in the wild world. And that way you don't have to worry about writing anything down because if you're driving, you shouldn't be doing that anyway.
That's right.
And then, so what series are you currently in right now?
So right now I'm writing Raptor, and that's my they're all former. So Raptor stands for okay, I have to look at the it's an
That's okay.
acronym, but it's
Right.
Avenge and Protect Team Operation Recover. So basically
Ooh,
they're the team. There's 9 books in this series. I just
wow.
gotten book 3 back from my editor. They release every other month this next year. So at the end of 2022, the final book will come out.
Okay.
But it's a 9-book series, and they're all men and women that are all former military, and they've all been wounded, changed in some way. Sometimes it's physical. One of my characters has PTSD. As I just
Right.
mentioned, book 3, Craving Charlesia. She's an amputee from the elbow down on her right or left arm.
Yes.
They all have different injuries, but they've all been retrained
Okay.
to search and hunt for child traffickers, pedophiles, and through the course of all of that, they managed to solve crimes and find love.
I cannot wait to dive into that.
Weird, right?
I think I'm pretty sure I bought the first one of those, and now I'm gonna have to set myself up for 9. What's up with that, Patty?
My evil plan.
That's okay. It seems to be working wonderfully for you. So just keep on going. I won't bitch. I'll just be along for the ride.
There you go. I love that.
This has been so much fun. I have very much enjoyed talking with you. I would love to have you on again. So just as a little aside for the listeners, we tried doing this a couple of weeks ago and I could not for the life of me get the camera to turn on. So we rescheduled, and I was like, when I got started, I'm like, if there's anything wrong with this today, and there was nothing wrong. This was
all worked fine.
Yes, this has been so much fun. I have learned things. I've shared things. It doesn't get better than that.
It's been wonderful. I really enjoyed it, and I'd love to come on again.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so everything's going to be in the description box down below. Click on things, buy things, do it. Christmas is coming up. Buy it for you and for someone else. That's a good idea.
Nice.
And right there. And then if you have any questions for Patty or myself, as I've said many times before, you can drop those in the comments and I will make sure that Patty has an opportunity to look at them, because if you want to learn, we want to help you. And so thank you again, Patty, for being here. This was such a blast.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it.
Good. All right. Well, everybody, you have a wonderful evening, morning, afternoon, 3 a.m., whenever it is that you're listening. I hope the rest of that day is all kinds of awesome, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.